Hey everyone, and welcome to Skillcapped. I'm the King Live, and you may be entitled to compensation if you or a loved one has experienced loss of elo due to teammates in solo queue. Solo queue is hard, however for many players it is the only option when playing ranked. Maybe they just don't have friends to play with, or maybe they're climbing into the higher ranks of Diamond 3 into Immortal and literally can only solo or duo queue. If you're struggling to climb in Valorant though, this is going to be your ultimate solo queue guide on how to quickly climb those ranks and put those past nightmares behind you. We're going to go over everything from communication to decision making, so stick with us as we get into it. But before we do, let's introduce our question of the day, which is, do you think solo queuing or stacking is the fastest way to climb in Valorant? I've been on both ends of this debate, so I'm curious to hear what you all have to say. Moving straight into it though, without wasting your time, starting out with our very first solo queue tip, which is you need to recognize that although you are solo queued, you still have 4 other players on your team who want to win the game. Maybe these people are literally just 4 Eeyore clones that don't sound like they want to win the game, but trust me, 99% of players don't queue into ranked with an intention to lose it. This means it's very possible there is another player on your team who is willing to work with you to achieve this goal of winning. What you should be doing is paying attention to how your teammates play and trying to figure out who the best player on your team is. Forget about yourself. We already know that you think you're better than everyone else. You need to be thinking about your teammates. Which one of these players would be willing to play with you and create opportunities for success? Which one of these players would be willing to help you grab orbs and double swing that guy who is ego peeking showers every round? You want people that you can set up baits with on defense and take control of areas with on offense. Now, generally, when you find that player, try to stick with them. Don't just leave them and go off doing your own thing, because this player is your holy grail. You may be playing in solo queue right now, but you have an actual teammate that you can work with. Now, sometimes this teammate isn't going to be as great as other times. Sometimes they might not even be using their microphone, but that doesn't mean they're not listening. I've had a lot of really great teammates who just use their in-game character voice lines to communicate, and although they can't set up strats themselves, if you make good callouts to these players, they oftentimes are willing to play with you. Just because you're playing in solo queue does not give you any excuse to only play solo. Take advantage of your team's numbers. People oftentimes ask me how to find good players to play with, and since this is a solo queue guide, I'm not going to dwell on this for long, but to answer that question, this is how I find so many great teammates to queue with. I play solo queue, and when I have cool teammates on my team, I add them and we queue together. There are some really awesome players you'll get queued with in Valorant. You just need to take the initiative to not only work with them in that game, but also to add them afterwards. That's just if you want to find people to stack with though. Now, before we move on to our next tip, which I actually learned from watching 100 Thieves steal, if you guys are seriously looking to improve, I highly suggest you check out our hyper improvement system on skillcap.com. We have up-to-date lineups, courses on how to improve with each agent, Smurf commentaries where a higher rank player walks you through how to carry in your rank, and so much more. Come join over 500,000 satisfied members, improve that KDA, and get the rank that you've always wanted at skillcap.com. Link in the description below. Moving on to our second tip though, and like I said, this is something I learned from watching 100 Thieves Sentinel player steal, and that's this advice. You can either lose one way or you can lose another. Alright guys, let's move on to tip number 3. Nah, I'm just messing with you. Obviously, that's something that we should probably go into. So what do I mean by you can either lose one way or you can lose another? Well, this basically refers to the idea that there are going to be times in your games where somebody on your team needs to step up and fill a role. And sometimes you may not be the right person to fill that role, which sucks. But this is where the quote comes into play. The easiest example you can provide for this is engaging onto site. For example, if you're playing as Sova, you're probably not the best person to engage onto site. However, if no one else on your team is going to engage onto site, you could either lose by attempting to engage onto site yourself and dying because your agent is not built for that, or you could lose because no one on your team engaged and you all sat back and just took aim duels in an unfavorable position and died. Notice how in both of these situations, you guys still lose, but at least in the first one, you attempted to step up and fill the role that other people on your team were supposed to be filling. Now, in a perfect world, everyone's going to do their job and everything will work out perfectly. But this is far from a perfect world, and sometimes you're going to have to fill the roles that your agent is not supposed to do. This extends further than entrying, of course. Another example of this would be taking control of areas on offense or even defense. If your team plans to push a site on bind, for example, you're generally going to want to push from both short and showers, because if you guys just take control of short, it's likely going to be very difficult for you guys to hold for post plan. This is why, even if your full team is ignoring you and all pushing short, it might be a good idea for you to go towards showers and at least try to provide some sort of pressure so that your team's push can actually succeed. Now, this doesn't mean that you should just go get yourself killed in showers, but even just showing a little bit of presence is going to make a big deal if there's a player in showers, so that they have to worry about fighting you while also worrying about the push on site. Once again, you should probably have more than one player going showers, but having one player go there is generally going to be better than having no one go there at all, because at least if you have one player showers, you have a chance of taking control of it. But if no one goes showers, you're just going to have no territory for post plant and get rolled. Going back to our point, you could lose because you tried to solo take showers and failed, or you could lose because no one took showers and you guys got overwhelmed later. This is all perspective really, but the biggest thing I want to point out with this tip is that just because your agent isn't necessarily built for a specific role does not mean that you can't accomplish that role. Every agent can gather info, engage, defend, bait, lurk, and create pressure. Some of them do it better than others, but just because your agent isn't the best at it doesn't mean that you can't do it. So if you feel like a role needs to be filled on your team, attempt to pick it up, because I promise you nobody else will. Moving on to our third tip though, and that's going to be to take advantage of ult orbs, especially on offense. This is a great way to give your team an objective for every round, beyond just getting the bomb down, of course. People don't realize that there are a lot of other different objectives in every round of Valorant. Find a teammate that will work with you like we talked about before, and just ask them to double swing an ult orb with you. This is going to oftentimes do three things. The first is that it will help you get an ult orb, which is awesome. If you're playing an agent who maybe doesn't use ult orbs all that well, give it to somebody who does. But if you're playing someone like Phoenix or Killjoy or Astra, this can be a great way to get your ultimate sometimes 3, even 4 times a half. The second thing this is going to do though is oftentimes get you kills. Players love to solo peek these areas like maniacs, and if you're able to double swing them, it's almost always at least a trade, which will favor your team in the long run. Not only that, but you will still get a free ult orb. And the final thing that this is going to do is help your team grab territory, which is a bigger deal than you may think. When you prioritize ult orbs, you give your team a sub-objective that will in the end help them win the round. When you narrow down your goals from win the round to take this ult orb, it helps your team get on the right path to in the end accomplish the overall objective of winning the round. And this brings us to our last tip, which is just overall, communication is key. If you're not communicating, you're not trying to win. You should be calling out everything that you see and everything that you're doing. One of the biggest things I've heard that separates Immortal players from Radiant players is just their ability to call out what is happening as well as what they plan to do. Saying things like, I'm going to flash in and peek left is a lot more helpful for your team than just doing it. And although it may not seem like a big deal, when you inform your teammates of what you're going to do, they'll be a lot better at playing off of it. Something I've learned from playing agents like Sova and Omen, for example, is letting teammates know when I have my next smoke or recon. If you inform players that it is available soon, oftentimes they will be more inclined to wait these few seconds for the util to come in. If you don't say anything, they're not even going to be thinking about your smoke or your recon because they'll be more preoccupied with themselves. Call out your utility and let them know what the plan is, and you will be able to win so many more games. Communication is a skill that takes a very long time to master, but just keep it up and you'll be sure to improve over time. And lastly, remember, if you want to improve that KDA, win more gunfights, and get the rank that you've always wanted, then be sure to check out skillcap.com. Link in the description below. I've been solo queuing a bit more recently, and I've noticed it's definitely a bit easier to climb when playing a duelist, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it by playing any agent. Notice how none of these tips were necessarily specific to duelist. I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is that you do have teammates on your team that are also looking to win the game as well. Keep your communication on point, and you can be sure to bring out a win, even against players who may be better than you. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel down below for future content. It really does help us out. And also don't forget to answer our question of the day, which is, do you prefer to solo queue or stack in Valorant? We'd love to hear what you've all been doing to climb. As always, I'm the King Live, and we here at Skillcapped want to thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.